Hello guys and welcome to Imperator Rome. Today we're going to talk about an important nation that I'm sure many players have played, and that is Carthage, and we're going to talk about how to play them. Given that this is my 24th guide, I'm going to assume you know the basics of how to play the game. If you don't, feel free to check out the playlist in the description below where I've made tons of other guides, including a guide like this, How to Play on Rome, which treats you as if you're brand new to the game, walking you through step by step. I've also made one for the challenging situation Macedon starts in, and today we're going to look at Carthage. Carthage is in a better situation than Macedon for sure. They are actually quite powerful. Let me show you. Look at the light blue, tons of puppets that belong to them, some more valuable than others. We can actually go in here and see the long list of subjects. Feudatories are especially useful. The rare client states also useful, but that is not actually all they have. They do have a tribal vassal right there of Musulamia, and there's another one hiding in here somewhere, or there should be, because Massilia right here is also a tribal vassal. And that's important because Massilia is going to be one of the main things you'll have to contend with as Carthage. So looking at what Carthage has access to at the beginning of the game here, they start with no legions, nor the ability to raise one. Their levies are not impressive for their size. Truly not. They could maybe 1v1 Rome right now, but that's it. Part of the reason for this can be found in your trait as playing Carthage, the Carthaginian heritage here, as we can see. Let's try to pop this up for you. You get an increase to profit from things that you export. You get a decrease to maintenance costs on Navy. Your levy size is actually reduced, and this is part of what hurts you, but you get an additional maximum mercenary army. This is important, because if you know anything about Carthage historically, their army wasn't very good. They relied mostly on mercenaries. They also had quite the navy because they were a very mercantile nation, being Phoenician traders that had come over from this area. I recommend this for most nations, but immediately I would put your commerce to free trade so that you can get even more export value. Export value is going to be your saving grace as Carthage, guaranteed. So you'd want to get that done immediately. You have some initial omens you could pick, and which one you want to pick does depend a little bit on where you plan to go, but an active national commerce income bonus to Carthage is probably more useful than that bonus would be to just about anybody else. So this is definitely a really, really good one to go for. It will help you afford tons of things, including mercenaries. And if you don't want to play mercenary heavy as Carthage, you might want to consider another nation, because this is just what they're really, really, really good as. You'll even want to potentially change what you go for in certain tech trees to favor mercenaries as well. For example, getting the 2 additional mercenary armies from Mercenary Reliance and Oratory would be very valuable in a maintenance reduction for someone like Carthage. Aiming for down here where you get another mercenary army for satellite status, also very valuable for a nation like Carthage. Definitely, because your legions and your levies won't be the greatest, but you do have access to elephants that you can use, so that's a bonus. With your starting 78 ships, the loadout may not be the best, very diverse, and diverse doesn't help you with primary, secondary, and flanking setups at all. I like to make it as not diverse as possible, in fact. Yet, your navy is your strength. It allows you to control who goes where and when, and even allows you to very easily do certain war goals where, well, I can't show it right now unless I just blaze through here a month, and I think I will, just to show you. If you were to declare war and show naval superiority, which you could do for free so long as you have any war goal at all that is forged, then you could win an entire war, taking an entire, well, province in general, like the size of some of these nations, a lot of these nations here. An entire province could be taken, here you go, roughly this size, just by blockading the shores. Your navy is very, very important, and you want to use it. You'll also have to deal with some colonization opportunities here. I have a guide on how to do this in the playlist. as effectively as possible. And you'll have very distant, spread out bits and pieces of land I'm hovering over right now to deal with separate to your main chunk, including Sicily and even Sardinia with expansion opportunities to Corsica. And you're going to want to come here and definitely claim a lot of this, because otherwise Rome will get it from the Etruscans. Now, as Carthage, you have access to one of the only 2 specially tailored mission trees that are available for free when you buy the game. And you have 3 main choices at the start here usually. It's the Aftermath of the Revolution. This is the one that I recommend doing first. This is after the disastrous war against Sicily. This allows you to kind of reform your government if you please, as well as get some very useful bonuses. So I definitely recommend picking this one first. The one that you can get after that here is an end to Sicilian warfare. This is to conquer all of Sicily. After that is the Aegis of Africa. This is to basically take your tribal vassals and turn them into not tribal vassals. It's to get a bunch of free claims to go after these tribes and take them over so you can own them directly. This is usually what I see players go for, because taking and holding Sicily against Rome is usually not the easiest. You do have some tiny vassals there to help you, but the choice is ultimately yours. Like I said, no matter what, I recommend the Aftermath of the Revolution first. It will give you time to get on your feet, start building up, and let's open this so you could see some of the bonuses. You will have to do some starting events. You could go down this left line if you want to become an oligarchic republic. If you want to know the differences between these, I suggest looking at the wiki. It outlines every little difference. The differences really just come down to how many different types of idea slots you have. You'll have 3 no matter what as a republic. Or Power at Home can send you straight down the middle. This gives you also some very good buffs for 240 months. What is that, 20 years? And you get some improvements to laws endorsing parties if you want to tailor your government the way you want it to end up at the beginning of the game. You can make it cheaper. You just need to build up enough votes in the Senate to get 60%. You start with 50, and you can also go down this to get a stability bonus and another 20-year buff that will give you even more stability, as well as give you a improved threshold for civil war. Very useful if you want to avoid any early game turmoil. Just to the side of that is the Plutocratic Republic, in case you want to swap to that. And then all the way on the right here, you have to have a certain popularity and amount of gold to start this. You spend it, and you will get some prestige for your family. It lets you go down and claim this for 250 money. Totally worth it, by the way. A 20-year bonus that will make recruiting mercenaries cheaper. So if it's 100, now it's 50. And then 5% less money to upkeep for 20 years. This lets you go crazy warmongery with mercenaries and even put them away to max out your income once you have them. Now, you do kind of have to go down one of these paths here if you want to then get the Carthaginian peace. You can go straight down the center if you don't actually want to change your government type from the default aristocratic republic. As you see, this is very much about getting certain bonuses and tailoring Carthage to be how you want it to be. That's why I recommend this one first. Let's go ahead and abort it so we could look at the other ones. The next path you could go is the Sicilian warfare. This is pretty straightforward. It's going to give you claims. It's going to potentially bring other powers into the war, as well as turn other Sicilian nations into your puppets. You could get 20-year bonuses to migration and assimilation in some locations, but at the end of all of this, the main thing that you're going to get is this right here, the ability to either control all of it or release Sicily as a giant subject. So that's really up to you. And then the Aegis of Africa is what comes after that. This is the one I would actually recommend doing first personally, but this is a going west instead of east. Because on your mainland, even if you lost Sicily one day, it's fine, because with your navy, Rome would have trouble challenging you in maintaining supply lines, things like that. Whereas if you go west, you'll also get another unique mission tree of going into Iberia and either dominating that through subjects or taking it over yourself as well. It leads to way more cool stuff. And there's also some really nice bonuses here for your maintenance costs of, for example, your navy and the damage taken by them. And then, as is especially important to Carthage, province income on 2 locations, including Carthago in this case, and national commerce income for 20 years. So in my opinion, you really want to chase these early game bonuses with the 2 mission trees I have laid out here. First, the Aftermath, and then the Aegis of Africa. You could go after Sicily if you want to play more warlike and not rush that, but even then, you'll have to war your way through unifying Northern Africa here, and then you could go into Iberia, or turn and maybe go into Sicily if Syracuse is still alive, or even go after Rome at that point. Rome is definitely going to be your biggest problem, and you really shouldn't surrender any of the islands or your mainland to them if you could help it. Definitely abuse these mercenaries because that is where you're strongest. Definitely chase those mercenary related techs as I have outlined, because that will allow you to go up against any levy stacks that Rome raises and just completely outmaneuver them through your grand commerce income. Carthage also has a unique event of sorts where if you do take Rome, then you can end up conquering it yourself or sort of humiliating it and turning it into a client state that is much, much weakened. It is up to you which one you do. There are viable strategies for both of them. I'm more of a conquer and assimilate kind of person. Personally, Rome kind of gets a similar unique thing if they go ahead and conquer Carthago. You are fairly unified, with Punic being your main and only integrated population, which is really good. If you want it to be peaceful, well, even then you'd have to conquer Massilia. You could try to integrate, but I wouldn't really recommend integrating the Massilians or the Massilians if you could help it, because they don't really give you anything useful. No good military traditions really come from it that you lack, because Punics get access to quite a bit. Punic can unlock the Levantine trees, and Numidian can unlock the Italic trees, so it just depends on what you want to do. The Levantine is easy because Punic counts as a requirement, so you're guaranteed to get Levantine like that. Numidian is very important to go through if you want to go into Italy, integrate, for example, the Romans, and then you unlock their tree for traditions, which is a very powerful one. Carthage definitely has a strange playstyle, but you definitely want to take advantage of your strong navy to dominate the coasts as much as possible, especially with that declaration of war, the show naval superiority. Once you do have a separate casus belli, as to not get the debuffs, it's basically just free conquering if you establish a dominant navy. And in the long run, you could easily dominate the Mediterranean just with a much different strategy. Instead of levy and then legion heavy like Rome land base, you are the naval power. You are the UK to Rome's Nazi Germany. And that'll keep you busy for quite a while, the timeline, especially if you choose to go westwards into Iberia and maybe even into Gaul and up here. Or you could go east towards Alexander's former empire. Doing all of it at once is difficult, and you really have to min-max doing that before the end date if that's your goal. But at the very least, hopefully, what I've laid out to you is helpful to you in getting started with Carthage if you're trying to play them as a newer player, or if you're trying to figure them out as a longer term player and just simply trying to form a strategy and figure out their playstyle, because they really are not very efficient using this standard Roman levy legion playthrough that so many players make their playstyle no matter who they play. Again, other guides can be found in the playlist in the description below. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments below. If you guys have any suggestions for other guides you want to see, let me know as well. For now, though, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.